Hi, this is Sue Detweiler, author of 9 Traits of a Life-Giving Mom, and you are listening to On Faith's Edge with Joe Taylor.
He prayed this simple prayer. Lord, let Billy's memories not be anchors he has to drag along the bottom. Turn them to treasures he can carry with him. And I was different. I was different after that prayer.
Thank you, Sue Detweiler, for the introduction. Sue's book, 9 Traits of a Life-Giving Mom, is really it's a heartfelt, transparent book, and I invite you to pick it up. You can hear my conversation with Sue at onfaithsedge.com/49. That's onfaithsedge.com/49. Well, hello. Welcome to this 53rd episode of On Faith's Edge. My name is Joe Taylor, recovering atheist and your servant in Jesus Christ. This is your place to hear conversations about God and living a life of faith. Last episode, I spoke with author and speaker Marian Pyle about her book, Healed, Healthy, and Whole, How We Can Beat Cancer with Integrative Therapies and Essential Healing Strategies. Marian tells us the true story about her and her husband and their race against time, fighting her husband's deadly form of bladder cancer. It's a journey full of discovery, full of faith, hope, and it leads to the world of integrative therapies and alternative treatments. I found it to be a very, very interesting conversation, and her book has significant validity. So you can hear my conversation. That's my personal opinion. I'm not a doctor, and I've not played one on TV. You can hear my conversation with Marian at onfaithsedge.com/52. That's onfaithsedge.com/52. Play a doctor on TV as a reference to an old commercial or a soap opera. Go off on a tangent here. Where a soap opera actor came on television, and he said, "I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV," and he would go on to give some kind of advice or recommendation on a medication or something like that. Just a foolish commercial. Anyway, you can hear my conversation with Marian at onfaithsedge.com/52. By the way, congrats to Teresa. I think it's Teresa or Tressa. I'll just call it Tressa. Tressa Crabtree. Tressa's going to receive a free copy of Healed, Healthy, and Whole. Tressa, I'll be in touch with you shortly. On today's show, I speak with legendary Christian singer-songwriter Billy Sprague. Billy is a multi-Dove Award winner. He's, of course, an accomplished singer-songwriter, performer, author, and recording artist. He's probably best known for writing the classic Via Dolorosa. Billy's newest project, Songs in the Key of All, features vocals by Sprague's daughter, Willow. His son, Wyatt, plays on the djiembe, I think is how you say it there. And it features Phil Keaggy. I tell you about this conversation. Billy's been around the Christian music business for a long time, and he offers some real insight on the state of worship music today. And he also takes us down a dark path in his life where he questioned the very nature of God, asking whether God is really good and is the power of God real on the day of trouble. I think you're really, really going to enjoy this conversation with Billy Sprague. Hello, Billy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joe. Glad to be here.
You have a new project out called Songs in the Key of All. First of all, what an amazing title.
Yeah. Well, it's Stevie Wonder had Songs in the Key of Life, and I'm a worship leader, so I've looked a lot at Acts where it says every time they got together, every soul was filled with awe. And I think we tend to succumb to the wow a lot, of it being impressive.
Right.
But the real awe is of the Lord. That's what He did, how He loved, what He made, what's He revealed. And so these are worship songs to, I like to say, our worship team, to amplify the awe.
When's the last time you put a project out?
Well, I've done 2 independent ones in the last years. Soundtrack of My Soul, where I finally recorded my own version of Via Dolorosa and satisfied my mom.
Right.
And then a grief CD called Songs to a Grieving Heart that accompanies my book on Harvest House, Letter to a Grieving Heart. But I really didn't. I was busy being worship leader, and I didn't promote those. So through a Kickstarter campaign, we made enough to finish, the project and put a little wind in the sails, to hire a radio promoter and some publicity and make some noise about it so people know it exists.
Kickstarter's amazing, isn't it? It really is.
It is. There's a network out there, the Holy Spirit is the original, digital network.
Yeah.
Who can contact any one of us anywhere. But second to that, the internet, and I've been at this a long time, so you're unaware of that network until you test it. And Kickstarter allows you to rally your tribe. And
right.
And people rallied around this, and the money came in to finish the project.
Yeah, John Schlitt, I think he funded his Christmas album and maybe one other album.
Right, absolutely.
Ellie
Holcomb.
Yeah. It's impressive what you can do when your fans rally around you.
Absolutely, and people.
And it's changing the music business. It really is.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Right, but it's still very, entrepreneurship is. We have I lived in Nashville a long time, and they have an expression: "Dreaming is hard work." You know that. You got to get up in the morning. You got to turn the microphone on. You got to make it happen. You got to post your blogs and podcasts, and so dreaming is still hard work.
You recorded your own version of Via Dolorosa.
Yeah,
and made your mother happy.
Oh yeah,
that song was a huge hit for Sandi Patti.
Mm-hmm.
So why? Of course, to make your mom happy, a little tongue-in-cheek, but maybe a little more serious than that. But why did you re-record it?
Well, it's a powerful song because of the story, not the music, I think, because the power of what Christ did. It just paints a picture pretty clear, and the emotional bed is there, in A minor, and then shifts to that major lift going to the chorus to... amplify the victory of what he did, the power of what he did. And somehow, it became bigger than the sum of all its parts. And Sandi, of course, with Greg Nelson producing, translated into Spanish, so it automatically went into the Latin-speaking world, and keeps blowing up. Last couple of years, someone re-recorded it in Brazil, and it got really big on pop radio in Brazil.
Wow!
Because it's pretty hard to get around that, that pivotal moment in history, and so somehow Niles Borp and I captured that in a 3 or 4 minutes to focus on, and several Miss Americas have danced or sung to it, and Heather Whitestone, who was deaf, won Miss America dancing to it. So it's just one of those things that goes beyond you, and I just feel like the boy who brought his loaves and fish that day, and the Lord multiplied it.
Right, and it's got to be an amazing feeling when you see the effect that song has had on people, and the way it's being used. From Miss America to being recorded in Brazil,
right? To
of course Sandi Patti.
Yeah, it is, and I that's why I still love this sort of thing. Sitting here with you and the media, I look at songs like they're arrows, Mm-hmm. So I craft this arrow, we drench it in the gospel, and we can shoot it out, on our own websites and stuff. But to get the media, you guys are the bow. You put this thing on the bow and let it fly. And as you said, your podcasts are in 60 countries. We can reach the uttermost parts of the world with electrons and the sound of our voice. And music, has a way of getting inside people, and it has a hook in it that they continue to play it over and over again. So I'm excited again to shoot some songs out there with the help of the media to aim at hearts again.
This recent project, Songs in the Key of All, was truly a family affair with you.
Yeah, really gratifying. It's just a God thing. You can't make your kids musical, right? Just like it's hard to get them to make their bed, right? And it's whose turn is it to unload the dishwasher? But as it turns out, my daughter, my 16-year-old Willow, is a terrific singer. Natural, great ear for harmony. And my 15-year-old is a great drummer. So we lead worship together. I brought him a djiembe, an African drum from Mali a few years ago, and he just slams on that thing.
Wow.
And so I got him, both on this project. Willow sings 2 songs and sings harmony throughout. And Wyatt plays on one of the songs that Phil Keaggy played on. And so it's just a joy. And to stand up and lead worship, I'd almost rather sing harmony to my daughter than me sing the lead vocal,
Right.
It's awesome.
Right. How exciting, man. So you are currently the worship leader at Edgewater Alliance Church in Edgewater, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance being a worship leader in an active church, or still working on your music?
Well, number one is, you have to have a family and a pastor who knows, who values that and knows that's a part of my wiring and part of my calling, and I'm assigned to that. Songwriting is not really something I do. It's a part of who I am. It's how I navigate the world. If something happens, I'll write a song about it. And in worship leading, I get to write songs that can be applied to the mission this weekend. I wrote a song recently out of Psalm 139 called Search Me, and just introduced it to the church, and we'll use it periodically when it fits for a time of confession and intimacy with the Lord. But my pastor is very open. He says, I know you have other, fires to attend, and that's why I'm here. And he said, you go do what you need to do, and I've got a great backup worship leader who can step in. So you have to have a setting where your pastor values that and knows, songs in the key of all can reach beyond us and be a resource for people all over the world. And that it's going to require me to come and go some.
When fans and people new to Billy Sprague pick up songs in the key of all, what will they hear?
Well, they'll hear hopefully the cream of the crop, the harvest of worship songs I've written really over the last 8 or 9 years as a worship leader. And if they listen to the whole thing, I've sequenced it like a worship experience. There's a couple of very short instrumentals that give you a pause to reflect. One of the things, in our input-driven age in churches, to just cram song after song. And do we have a time for prayer or reverence? Do we use, as A.W. Tozer said, we've lost our sense of majesty of approaching God in adoring silence. Can we do that? We have so much input coming from the platform, from the preacher. When do we just get quiet before him? So I've got several extended outros on some songs that just create a bed for you to be in the presence of the Lord, and hopefully people will enter into an intimacy and an awe of the Lord as they listen to the whole thing. Of course, you can go to any single song that is your favorite, but I've sequenced it in a way that I hope it will take you on almost an hour long as you drive down the road. You can celebrate, you can confess, you can draw close to the Lord, and you can have a little bit of silence where a lyric's not coming at you, just a guitar and piano. And so I hope it creates an environment where people can draw near to the Lord.
Who are you listening to right now, Billy?
I listen to what my kids are listening to. Go down, Imagine Dragon and all the pop stuff, but I love all the worship music I was in Nashville a long time, and I really like what God did in the last 20 years. Worship music is being birthed all over the planet by worship leaders. Mm-hmm. Chris Tomlin, all these guys, Paul Beloche, all these guys, Lincoln Brewster, they're worship leaders, really gifted musicians. And you don't have to come to Nashville to make good music. You can make good music anywhere. There are great players on the Front Range. Dave Beagle is a virtuoso guitarist who plays on Cut 5 here. Or I can send a track Phil Keaggy plays on too. You can make the music, and it's birthing. So I listen to a lot of, looking for worship songs. I scan a lot of worship songs, trying to find songs that really express our congregation, our people's heart toward the Lord, and I like the old stuff. My daughter has fallen in love with the hymns, and says, "Boy, Dad, these have great melodies." Yeah, I know. That's why do you think they're still around? So I listen, and I love the pop stuff. I still check out, what James Taylor's doing, and Sting, and Paul McCartney, the stuff I was weaned on. Sure. But I listen to a lot of worship music, looking for great worship songs. And listen to what my kids are listening to.
We talked a few minutes ago about what Kickstarter has done for the music business and how it's changed the music business and how it's changed business in general, funding of business. The digital age. I was just speaking a couple weeks back with Michael Sweet from Stryper, and he just did a project with, of all people, George Lynch, from Dokken.
Wow.
A heavy metal band. And we were talking about how he put that project together. Very similar. George was in one place, he was in another place. All across the country, they did this. They arranged the music, and they never. I don't think they met at all to put this project together. And it's just a beautiful thing that you can do now. It just makes it so easy for people to
collaborate.
Yeah.
And join those streams. And there's nothing like it. I still like delivering the music live. There's nothing like sitting and having someone sing a song to you live. But for creativity, boy, it brings the cost down. You can get great drummers in Nashville for $100, $125 a song. Take the file over to their house, into their drum room, and Steve Brewster, these guys, they will just slam down a kicking drums on your song that you built up, digitally. So yeah, the creative landscape is great, and Kickstarter has really empowered the creative process, and sidestepped the gatekeepers who said, you may or may not enter. We're going to spend money on you not. We believe in you or not. You can be true to your own creative voice. And if you build a network who says, yeah, we're with you, they'll send you $10, $20, $100, $1,000. And those streams added together are really fortifying. I know I'm here because the people in Kickstarter believed I needed to do this again, and they believed in the songs that somehow this music matters because it carries hope and truth and light, and that's part of my assignment. And so I get there's a lot of wind in my sails from being, as we said on the Front Range, life is a group hike. It's not a solo journey.
Billy, we've been a little bit all over the place here. We certainly haven't taken a linear path in this conversation. And on this album, what would you say is your standout personally? What is your favorite?
Well, if I had to pick one, because my daughter sings two songs, and I wrote a song called Overflow that started some years ago. Psalm 45:1 says, "My heart overflows with a noble theme as I recite my verse to the King, and my tongue is the pen of a ready writer or a skillful writer." It's a real songwriter scripture, right? That my heart overflows. And I did a study and looked at the scriptures of the word overflow, and it's everywhere. And the whole concept is, we have to draw near He has to fill us, so we have something to give. And so it's this daily, His mercies are new every morning. You have to go to Him and get full. So I wrote this song as a prayer and was going to sing it, and I went, no, I think Willow needs to sing this one. So it's cut 3. It's going to be the second single, and we've released the first single, which is Life Begins Now, which is an Easter-related song that I wrote for Easter a couple of years ago, because I was baptized on Easter, and Easter is not just pivotal in the history of the planet, it's pivotal in my own personal history. And but Overflow, if I had to pick one, I would step away from the mic and let Willow step up. I can't wait to introduce people to, the next generation of the next musical iteration of my genetic lineage and my grace story. Just that, I don't know if you know we can talk about that in a minute of a time I really went through that was a dark time, but Willow, you want your kids to outshine you. So if I had to pick one, I would pick Overflow and say, Willow, sing my heart.
I've always felt, Billy, I have 3 daughters. And
awesome.
I've always felt that the ultimate place of honor for a father is in the shadow of their children. So let's take a second and listen to Overflow.
But without love, I'm still just an empty melody. Lord, let me be an instrument in your great symphony. Spirit of the living God, come overwhelm my soul.
excellent. She's going to kill you, bro. We drove through last August on the move, and we spent the 4 days here finishing and recording. And she stood up every day at the mic just working. It's just...
How cool.
Just look at Jim go, how does she know to choose those notes?
Well, Billy, she certainly had an influence, so...
Yeah, she's been around the music thing.
You bet. From this album, Songs in the Key of All, that has spawned a couple different projects for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, one of them is from the song Overflow. I've been asked to come alongside some worship teams and mentor and do some weekend workshops. So I'm launching Overflow weekend workshops, and Compassion International is partnering with me to help me go in, defray some of the costs for churches, to bring me in. I want to bring my daughter Willow in, and maybe my son Wyatt to play djiembe and drums. Come in on a Friday and meet with worship teams, do some seminars and practicums and teaching on Saturday, rehearse worship and lead worship on Sunday, and then pitch child sponsorships for Compassion on Sunday, so that under the umbrella of worship as a lifestyle, not just the music we do, but our lives need to overflow in the things that are on God's heart. And certainly Compassion is in the business of overflowing the overflowing resources in the West that we have, overflowing toward an individual child somewhere in the world. 1.2 million children are sponsored. So I'm really excited to get out and mix it up with people from my experience worship leading, to mentor some people in the nuts and bolts of leading worship, but also worship as a lifestyle, the condition of the heart that you invite God to fill you to overflowing, so you have something to give, not just 20 minutes of music on Sunday, but 24/7 as you live your life.
How exciting, man.
Yeah.
How exciting. Can we talk a little bit about you and your faith?
Sure.
How did you come to believe in Jesus Christ?
I was raised in West Texas, in a little town, and we didn't grow up going to church, but for some reason, with 5 kids, about the 8th grade, my parents took us to church. Maybe they needed a day off and a morning off, but I met a Sunday school teacher, Virginia Sauché, and who made us, memorize Scripture. The first one she made us memorize was, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And then Micah 6:8, he showed you what is good. What does the Lord require of you but to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly? So she loved us she was Jesus to me. And then Ron Lowe was a youth director and the choir director. And they really showed me Jesus and showed me the God who wasn't distant, who wasn't out there somewhere, but loved you and liked you. And had an amazing plan for you, and I was a skinny little West Texas kid. So under their influence, I came to the Lord my sophomore year of high school and was baptized that Easter and began my walk. But really my faith got my own when I was diagnosed with scoliosis, curvature of the spine. Had to have surgery, 2 steel rods put in my back. I had to skip a year of school. All my classmates went on to school. I was in a body cast for 9 months, and I played a little guitar, but I played every day, and I read the New Testament for the first time, just to check it out and read it as a story that applied to me, not just in general, that, God loved the world, but he loved me. Mm-hmm. And it really, my faith became my own, and then headed back to college. And so that was my roots. I got really grounded in grace, that God... I was off the hook, that God not only loved me in general because he had to, he liked me and was for me. He wasn't against me.
What a perspective, Billy.
Yeah.
We hear about God's love. And that's I don't know if I've ever heard it put that way. And if I've been a believer for about 20 years, but the most powerful thing is love. We know that. And I don't want to discount that.
Yeah.
But when you said God doesn't only love me, but he likes me.
Yeah. And it actually says it in Scripture. In Psalm 18, it says, he reached down from heaven and pulled me out of deep waters when my enemy was too strong for me. And he rescued me because he delighted in me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Billy, have you ever had a time in your life since believing in Jesus Christ? Were you doubted your faith or maybe even the existence of God?
I doubted who he was. I don't know that I doubted his existence. Like C.S. Lewis, when his wife died, he said, I didn't doubt God. I began to doubt what he was like. Began to wonder what he was like. If he's in charge, then why this? And so I went through a season in full stride in the late 1980s. I was in love with a young woman, and we were going to spend our lives together, and got that dreaded phone call on a Saturday, November 18th. There's been an accident, Roses with Jesus. And you can't take in, what are you saying? Joe White of Camp Kanakuk called me, and his voice was trembling. What are you saying, Joe? You can't take that in. That life could turn on a dime like that, and it can. We are fragile, right? And we're susceptible to the forces of physics.
Right.
So she was in a car wreck and gone. And so I went into the darkest valley of my life, wrestling with, and I'd been singing a song called La Vie, Life is Hard, but God is Good. And I found a little hesitation when life is hard, but God is... What is he? Is he really in charge? Is he indifferent? Is he, did an angel miss a block? Why? I would run the universe differently than this. But is he good? And Psalm 27 talks about, on the day of trouble, the psalmist says, I will make music to the Lord on the day of trouble. And ends saying, I believe I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. That we don't have to wait till heaven, that God's goodness will come through, but will it show up on the day of trouble? So it was a real testing time, and I was in danger of becoming pretty cynical and muted, and as one of my friends put it, you can find a manageable level of melancholy, just a manageable level of melancholy, and trudge on. But did Rose fall in love with you because you were a trudger? You were full of life. Rose would want you to be full of life again. And if you cross the finish line and she goes, oh, you trudged. That it. So, does faith work? Does it bring you through the hard times? Can it bring you back to life? And I ran into so many people in that season who had decided they would just trudge.
Right.
And that I will just bear this and be a good soldier, but either they never loved again, they never trusted again, they never fully engaged in life again, and they were, as Thoreau described, they were leading lives of quiet desperation.
Right.
So God wasn't going to allow that for me, and I had great friends who came alongside me, and one of them prayed for me, a Dutch man I met in Sweden. We were in Barcelona for the Olympics in '92, and he prayed this simple prayer for me, and I would pray it for anybody out there who's got a knotted fist in their heart about the hard things that have happened to you, and why God allows that. He prayed this simple prayer. Lord, let Billy's memories not be anchors he has to drag along the bottom. Turn them to treasures he can carry with him. And I was different. I was different after that prayer. It was 2 years later, and just about that time I met Kellie, who I'm married to now for 20 years. We have these 3 beautiful kids. God had another great story up his sleeve, and he didn't want me to just be a trudger. But it was a real test to see, is the power of God real on the day of trouble? And I found that it was.
That's a beautiful story, Billy.
Well, it's a God story. It's a grace story, and I think the world is desperate to know, can I get through those things and not know all the answers, but can I get back to life?
Billy, as we wrap up, you can hear Overflow playing in the background. As we wrap up, what would you say to that person that is right on faith's edge, about to make that choice to believe or not to believe in God?
I would say lean into it. Our old preacher used to say, lean into it. And the act of faith is a lot is not as mysterious as you think. You have faith in things all day long. You sit down in a chair and you trust that the chair maker made it solid enough you're not going to fall down. We trust all the time. And for some reason, God likes this faith thing that blessed are those who believe and have not seen. And so it's a leaning. You lean your life. Every day you get up and you lean your life on your car. You lean your life on all kinds of things. It's a matter of deciding, you know what? And crying out to Him, Lord, if you're there, I'm going to lean my life on you. I'm going to lean my life on you. And you begin to say that and do that, and God will lean back and carry you.
I don't think we can say anything more than that. Billy Sprague, the project is called Songs in the Key of All, and it's good, man.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
God bless.
Today. God bless you, brother. Songs in the Key of All is available at Amazon.com, and Billy's website is BillySpragueMusic.com. These links, as well as Billy's Facebook and Twitter links, can be found in today's show notes at onfaithsedge.com/53. That's onfaithsedge.com/53. Well, that'll wrap up today's show. Thank you to Billy Sprague for being with us today, and thank you for listening. You mean a lot to me, and you mean a lot to the show. God is real, He loves you, and so do I. God bless.
Thank you for listening to On Faith's Edge. You can subscribe to the show via iTunes, Stitcher Internet Radio, or your favorite podcast app on Android, Apple, or Windows devices. To reach out to Joe or leave comments about the show, visit onfaithsedge.com. You're important to us, and we would love to hear from you.